about the rally, the million person rally, or was that supposed to
million Jews standing together, or at public day of two. I don't even know how they label it. I saw like so many ways of labeling it.
So I was actually in Yerushalayim. I was working right near there. I was trying to get out before they started, but I ended up getting trying to meet a friend, and I ended up getting stuck on one of the streets, and I got stuck there. So I ended up parking in a handicap parking lot spot because I was like nowhere to move it. So I parked there. I went to check it out. It was nice. There was a lot of people there. It was a very nice situation. Nice music playing.
Million people?
I have no idea. A lot of people there. But I saw a guy holding a sign, Russia Zakan. This is, Russia's here, okay, or Stalin is here, a couple of the signs. So I approached the guy like, I mean, really? You want to say something, you want to say, okay, I'm really concerned about my child going to the army. Maybe there are issues in the army. We could discuss that. We have a conversation. There might be something substantive. We could have a conversation about that. But Russia Zakan, I don't remember seeing. I told you I don't remember seeing this amount of people with black hats and white shirts in Russia. Not too long ago, we had 1 million Jews come from Russia. Everybody has family. Some sort of great aunt, great uncle, grandparent that was from Russia. To compare Russia to Eretz Yisroel. And by the way, if the Ottomans were still controlling Israel, you wouldn't have as many yeshivas and kollel as you have today.
Probably not. I mean, nobody knows. But
nobody knows. But I mean, it wasn't that way when the Ottomans were controlling. What?
I was being sarcastic. We know.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I told my wife, I use I sometimes go to a mikvah next door to me that's actually sponsored by the municipality. The municipal, the Yerushalayim or whatever. So, I mean, it's just an endless amount of, it's just like ridiculous. I go to the local store, not necessarily a religious store, but you're not seeing Halloween candles. You're seeing Hanukkah things. You're seeing a little book, teach me Torah in Hebrew. And not everything's religious, and it's fine. But I'm saying overall, like Beryl Wine said, it's a Jewish country, and the fact we're all benefiting from that very much. There are many yeshivas here, and it wouldn't have happened under the British, under the Ottomans. Let's be realistic, and certainly not under the Russians. I think it was just a terrible, very, very divorced from reality. It was just a terrible thing. I think it's unfortunate because we could have a serious conversation about serious things. If there are serious problems with the army and you want to have a serious conversation about it, could we do something about it? Could we work something out? But I will give them credit that they didn't make the rally until after there was a ceasefire. I think that was at least a nice thing. It was some sort of a sensitive thing. But I know people will bully us, I'm sure, for taking an opinion that's against what is defined as Das Torah, even though I think it's very unfair to use that word. It's not a word that appears in Chazal, but it's also it's not a fair thing to use that word because if there's a Talmud Chacham on the other side of the issue, he's labeled as an Apikeres. There's many sects of Judaism. Every sect is, if you're not in that sect, you're either too fanatic or you're not religious. No, but I'm saying the yeshiva, some people will say if you're a big Talmud Chacham sitting learning all day, and you happen to be associated with a different, you happen to be associated with let's say the more Zionist community, religious nationalist community, or the YU community. There are many. It's just a crazy thing that people bully and say that it's not a religious and serious opinion, but there are serious Talmud Chacham on both sides of the issue. So I don't think. But I'm just saying, I'm still entitled to say my opinion. Yeah. Whether or not someone will bully me in the comments. And I do think there was something very nice about it. But I think there is also an element of things that are not helping the cause and are just false, very insensitive, very wrong, and very much a Chol Hashem. Doesn't bring me closer to Yiddishkeit. It's not bringing anyone else closer to Yiddishkeit. To see somebody who's trying to represent the Torah in a way that I don't think Rabbi Yashav would have held the sign up like that. I don't think he would have said such an opinion. Whatever. Okay. There's a little bit of detachment from reality.
Yeah, there's a lot to unravel there. I mean,
I just wanted to say one last thing. Like in my shul, there is a Sefer Torah dedicated to someone who lost a son during the war, and it's a couple of people I know personally are losing kids, and it would have been very nice. Like this could be completely consistent with the narrative. If you have a real serious issue with the army, and there's something to talk about. I'm not saying we have to, but how about we made a Gem Atzaras Tefillah 2 or 3 times during the war? How about that would have been a great PR movement for the yeshiva community. It would have been great. It would have been very important, and it would have been also. It would have been everything. It would have been everything that Torah stands for. You're davening for people that are fighting a war. We're literally in Beis Milchama. I mean, you can't deny that. And the bottom line is, you're being protected by the army. You know, in America, Jews would never do this to the American government. We would thank the police for guarding us. How many police officers were there by that event, monitoring terrorist attacks? You know how many streets they shut down? I saw how many border police patrols were out there trying to get out there. It was impossible to get out. They were literally monitoring. It's a 1 million people event. There's, threat of obviously terror attacks and other issues. And just thinking, if such an event would have happened in America, would we ever tolerate not publicly thanking the military, the army?
You're absolutely correct. It's truly unbelievable.
It bothers me, and people are gonna think, who are you to say this and this and that? But it's a Chil Hashem. And if I'm a Torah observant Jew and I think this is not representation of Torah, I have to speak up against it. As someone who follows the Torah, I don't think this is how I should act.
It's true. It's a ridiculous double standard that like you're saying in America, the Rabbanim would tell the people at this protest.
I don't want to say they're Rabbanim, because there are Rabbanim on both sides.
Yeah, it's true. Whatever it is.
This is what I'm coming to challenge: the fact that you're only a rabbi and you're only a Rav, you only have das Torah if you say what the politically correct narrative is.
Right, I'm using Rabbanim in a generic way as the people who are leading these sheep, whatever it might be. And what you're saying is so correct that in America the narrative is always like with Kiddush Hashem, so thank the police officers, and we send a letter to the mayor for protecting us and allowing us to have this protest. In Eretz Yisroel, they're busy throwing things at people and yelling and I mean, I'm not saying everyone obviously, but
right.
but the outlook is so different and so hateful. There's so much hate, and the crazy thing is over here, if you would go thank the police, if you thank the military, and you got to obviously separate the government from the people on the ground. Somebody who's a police officer, just because he's employed by the government doesn't mean he has the same values as, I completely agree, a really evil government. I'm not saying everyone in the government is evil, but overall the government of Eretz Yisrael is horrific. It's horrific.
Okay, I don't 100% agree with that, but there are problems. And there are
somebody who lives in Yehuda V'Shomron, I can tell you that the level of evil that I see coming from the government of this country is insane. But we have to divorce that from the people.
Right, okay.
When I see a soldier, I have the utmost appreciation to him. We should absolutely be davening for the people who are in Gaza. He's listening to orders. Now, I think he should protest and not listen to orders. The fact is, he's going out there. He's putting his life on the line to protect Jews. We have to thank these people. Like you said at this protest, this was a major terrorist threat in Yerushalayim, and all these cops there, all these soldiers there that are protecting these Jews. And the narrative is not thank them, make a kiddush. In America, it would be, like you're saying, it absolutely would be. And the interesting thing is here, if you would thank these people, it wouldn't only just be a kiddush Hashem. You could be makar of these people. You could help bring these people closer,
and you'd also help your cause.
You'd help everything.
That's the main thing I'm saying.
People are so stuck in their hate that they end up self-sabotaging themselves. It's and again, it's so important that people are able to divorce the government, and probably, again, I don't know that much about politics, but from what I understand, probably like these Supreme Court, what's it called, the Bagats.
Yeah.
They're probably the biggest issue. Okay, these people are Erev Rav, they're evil to the max. Some of these politicians, they hate the Torah, they hate God, and May God unleash His vengeance upon them.
No, but
it has nothing to do with the holy people that are protecting the country. And even if a lot of them are secular, okay, so let's be makar of them. People don't know how to separate these two, and it creates a major Chil Hashem, and we get nowhere. We just keep going. We had October 7th. There was an Achdus for a few months. People are like, oh, how beautiful. And I'm like, unfortunately, it's going to go straight back to the way it was before, because I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I really don't know what the solution is. People are just so stuck in this never-ending circle of hating the next person. Because if people can tell themselves, you're a fanatic and you're not religious, they make themselves feel like I'm holier than all. I'm holier than that.
Right.
But people have to stop. There's so many different strokes for different folks.
There's different. Yeah, and there's also, again, I think one of the main issues, and this is why a lot of issues never get solved by the American Yeshiva community, and also in Eretz Yisrael. Everybody's afraid to go against the narrative, because lest you say something against Das Torah, again, this is a made up term. I'm not saying that there's nothing is important to listening to being smart enough to know when your limitation is and asking a Rav a Shaila. I say the Rav, the Rambam teaches up. It means asking halacha questions. This is funny. I'm going off topic for a second, but today, what's more important to, let's say you're doing a shidduch with somebody, it's more important your hashkafa, and probably specifically about Zionism, is more important than how careful you are addicted to halacha. That's like the most, again, if there's any Christian watching, it's not anti-Christian what I'm about to say, but that's the most Christian idea that has crept into Judaism, because in Yiddishkeit, there's almost no halacha of what you have to believe. The Rambam has 13 klalim. It's not even so clear, he deduces them from different places. There's no clear mitzvah of what you should believe, what you shouldn't believe. It's a whole other topic. We almost don't care what you think and what you feel. We care what you do. So I care if a guy keeps halacha. You could talk Lashon Hara all you want today, but you're an anti-Zionist and that's good. Or something else. Unless you have a shkafa that going to the army is a mitzvah. Again, we could agree, disagree about that. It doesn't make a difference. The point is, we got to a place where this hashkafic belief is the entire Yiddishkeit that seriously defines it, who you vote for politically and what your view is. We don't find such a thing in Chazal at all. There's no zihiros on hashkafa. There's no chizuk on hashkafa. There's chizuk on liman Torah. There's chizuk on kiyum mitzvahs, ma'asim tovim, chesed, rachmanis. So that's a very interesting thing, and it's totally a result of politics. And that's kind of the sad thing, that how much politics has.
You're saying hashkafa doesn't matter so much?
It doesn't matter so much. It matters.
Can you define what you mean by the word hashkafa? Just because I feel like hashkafa.
What I mean to say is
people view in different ways.
Let's say I'm very much, I love Eretz Yisrael. I'm not necessarily a nationalist. Okay, in the strong sense of the word. The fact that the guy next to me is a dark nationalist doesn't make a difference to me. Or the fact that he believes in Hasidus and whatever, the other opposite extremes, makes less of a difference to me than whether or not he keeps halacha. I think what the Torah commands is to follow halacha. Again, what am I getting at? Christianity has a big problem with Judaism. Early Christianity has a big problem with Judaism. What are all these laws? Let's just believe in something. Let's just feel good, be nice, be kind, right? That's a totally antithetical to Judaism. It's a nice thing. It's a good thing to feel good. And it's an important part of Yiddishkeit as well. You need to have ahava and yira.
Right.
But Yiddishkeit, essentially, what the essence of Yiddishkeit is the law, is the halacha. And what defines you as doing the right thing or wrong thing is literally if you follow halacha or not.
Right.
If you follow the Torah, if you follow the halacha.
I would say hashkafa and mindset and ideology are extremely important. But if it doesn't translate into action, it's nothing.
Again, it takes brave people to be able to stand up against the narrative, very brave people, because the narrative is very, very powerful. And that's why nobody speaks up. You're not going to find the shidduch. You're not going to get a job. If you unless you're ready to leave the community entirely, you can't speak up. And unfortunately...
Which I recommend everyone does. Everyone should leave their community. That's what I did. Moved to the hilltop. I homeschool my kids. It is the most freeing, most unbelievable feeling to... I don't care about shidduchim. I don't care about my kids' schools. I'm not involved in any of that. And you know what it allows me to do? It allows me to do what David HaMelech did, what Moshe Rabbeinu did, what Yaakov did. They were all shepherds. Right. They all lived alone, away from society. Because if you're not around people, if you're not around society, if you just do your own thing, you can actually serve Hashem instead of serving society and then calling that serving Hashem, like you said, Das Torah. Like, I follow Das Torah. I don't know about Das Torah. I follow the Torah. You follow Das Torah. I follow the Torah. Yeah. So I live in Eretz Yisrael. Some people say, I don't live in Eretz Yisrael because I follow Das Torah. Well, that's interesting because the Torah says live in Eretz Yisrael. So it's fantastic that you're following Das Torah, but your Das Torah, whatever those words mean, happens to not be the Torah, in which case... I don't know. We'll see who goes to hell and who goes to heaven. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we're going there. Yeah. It's okay. This is a very politically incorrect.
Right.
Everything goes here.
Say this. So actually, the word Das Torah is an invention of Eretz Yisroel. Totally an invention. I mean, you won't find anything. It's probably mostly.
Who also happens to be very anti-Zionistic. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's interesting that Das Torah always goes hand in hand with hating Eretz Yisrael. It just happens to be. I'm not across the board fully, but yeah, but that's the overwhelming. Right.
But I call it Das Torah.
Very good.
But anyways, but again, it's very important to speak to people that are wiser than you. Shlomo Melech talks about this all the time. You got to talk to. Sometimes you want to talk to someone that's above. When I have something about medical health, I talk to an expert on medicine. If I have a question that's related to Torah, you talk to somebody who.
But it's also important not to be.
But he doesn't have to be politically correct. He has to be somebody who knows Torah.
Right.
Doesn't have to be. Today, what people that get elected to Eretz Yisroel means you have to have a certain set of views. Anyone that's going to tell you to move to Eretz Yisroel is just not going to get elected to Eretz Yisroel. Let's face the fact. It's unfortunate, but that's the fact. It's a political organization. Again, all these things became political organizations. It's not a serious organization. The fact that Hershel Schachter is not respected by regular people by the mainstream in the yeshiva world, like the mainstream Haredi yeshiva world. I mean, it's not consistent with anything. He's a very yeshivish Talmid Chacham, actually. He's not even. I'm more to the even. I like more some people that are more philosophical. And he's very yeshivish. He's very regular.
The work I do, I deal with this a lot. This Das Torah idea, because, like, for example, I've been to the Har Bayis. So there are people who are like, you're crazy. You're crazy, right? So they start spewing things like kares, this, that. I went to the mikveh. I did everything according to halacha. I obviously went in the areas where I'm not close enough to be chayiv kares. Everything is legitimate. It's a very holy place. It's a good place to daven to Hashem. Did everything according to halacha.
Right.
Did a mitzvah. So people are like, well, Das Torah. These rabbis say, they list me, people always, this rabbi said it's also, this rabbi said this rabbi. So, usher. So I sat down with my Rav. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to get any emails. But I sat down with my Rav and I asked him, I said, everyone is saying that the Rabbanim say it's usher. I just have a little issue. Who gave this Rebbe or this rabbi the authority to make new mitzvahs in the Torah? They could just say this is usher. There's no isser. In fact, the opposite.
Right. I was just to be clear to the audience. I mean, if you go through the halacha, it seems if you know the halacha, it seems pretty clear that it's okay to
everything
go.
Seems everything.
No, that it's okay to go.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that the word seems is like all of our halacha is we're doing the best we can. Every mitzvah we do the best we can to figure out what Hashem wants.
I would say more than it seems. I mean, if you go through the halacha, it's clear that it's mutter.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The word clear is important. It's clear that it's mutter. It seems.
The audience, I don't think that a lot of people don't know this. People think everybody holds its usher to go.
Right. There's no.
If you ask the paiskim what the psak halacha is, again, as long as you go in the right places, it's pretty clear that it's entirely mutter to go.
Absolutely.
It's also, but the Rambam simply, it seems like he went up also, and it seems from the history. I don't know if it's verified enough.
The Rambam made a Suda every year. He made 2 Sudas every year. One Suda was celebrating the day he came to Eretz Yisroel.
Right.
Another Suda he made every year was the day he went onto the Har Bayis.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he says it.
That's in in the letter that day?
I'm not going to say where it is because I can't remember right offhand. But yeah, it was a letter. So he wrote it. I've heard this 100 times. But anyway, everyone can feel free to verify that. Shouldn't be very difficult.
I asked a close... I also don't want to quote something from Rav Belsky because that I asked a close Talmud of Rav Belsky, who happens to be a relative of mine.
Belsky wore tchelis.
Yeah,
also a crazy thing.
That's another thing. We'll get into that in a second.
We'll talk about tchelis soon.
But what happened to the... See, nobody cares about... As I'm saying, goes back to what I was saying before. Nobody cares about halacha.
Right.
It's all politics today. Well, what's halacha? Rav Belsky, everybody knows was the biggest paisek, right? We all relied on him for everything, as well as Rav Hershel Schachter. So these are the two paiskim. They both advised and wear tchelis.
Yeah.
Rav Belsky was a little bit more quiet about it, but so he wore tchelis. It's very well known.
Well, before we get into tchelis,
let's go back to the Har Bayis. Just saying the halachic. I asked him what he said. Okay, he said, of course, halachically, it's fine to go there. So it's fine, and it's
not just fine. It's a very
but again,
a very holy thing. If you're doing it the right way,
what would happen if Rav Belsky would say that up publicly? Well, people wouldn't take him seriously anymore because the political movement would shut him down.
Absolutely. My Rav person,
just like they did to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, for example, as somebody who was a very consistent Talmid Chacham, but he did things that were not the cultural norm up until then. Again, I want to I'll get off that in a second. But he did things that are not cultural norm until then, and therefore he was shut down. It's all about the culture. Essentially what defines the yeshiva community today is we don't want to change anything that's in the culture. Anything that's out of the culture seems very... Right. And I think it's a little bit of a trauma response to what happened with Haskalah, potentially.
It's everything to do with that. And and when you understand that, and you understand why we're so scared, what we're scared of, you can actually start fixing that fear. But it's like that's why I refer to it as the sheep and the lion, and that's why a lot of people call it the sheep mentality, because everyone is just like all the Jews are going, a bunch of sheep running in a certain direction, right? Now, a lot of times that direction is very good. It's towards the grass, it's towards the field. But every once in a while, those sheep, the head sheep starts running the wrong direction. So the whole herd is running the wrong direction, and they might be just running right off a cliff.
Yeah.
And then the few sheep that are like, wait a minute, this isn't working out. I'm not going. I'm going to go there. Like, you're crazy. We're all going in this direction. If we're all doing it, it must be correct.
You're saying a Gemara, you know that, right?
I am, yeah. That's
the Gemara says, "Kad rogez rayal ana Abdullah nagdas Musa." When the shepherd,
for the audience, because I actually know what that means.
No, it's a Gemara in Bava Kama. I think it's in two places maybe, but the Gemara says when the shepherd gets angry at the sheep, he makes the lead sheep a blind one. And
but just to go back,
so when somebody says, not to say, I'm not saying this, I'm just saying what the Gemara says. But when somebody says that you always follow the leader, well, there is a point where sometimes the leader isn't doing the wrong thing for the cause. This is what the Gemara says.
That's what I tell people all the time. They say,
so
Das Torah. And I say, it's true. Das Torah is great. Follow their Rabbanim. Just make sure the rabbi you're following is leading you in the way of the Torah, not leading you in the way of some political view or some hashkafa that his...
Right, and to be clear, and this is why one of the things I always get into conversation with people is that I agree, if all of Klal Yisrael is doing something, then it has a validity. Like we know that. I'm saying all of Klal Yisrael accepted the Talmud Bavli, the Rambam says, and that's why we follow Talmud Bavli. We don't follow the specific Gaonim because it wasn't accepted all of Klal Yisrael. The problem with the yeshiva community, I wouldn't say problem, but essentially, if your world ends outside of your shul or outside of your yeshiva or your group of yeshivas, so you completely invalidate every other community. It means the Sephardi community. You completely invalidate the YU community. It's just a massive, group of tons of Talmidei Chachamim, whether you like them or not. And you completely invalidate everybody else that is Shem Torah mitzvahs. And then you say, look, all the Rabbanim say this. Say, all the Rabbanim say this. All of the Rabbanim, really.
Right.
All of the Rabbanim in your little circle.
You're two rabbis.
Now, it might be a lot of Rabbanim. Might be a lot of Rabbanim. How many Hasidic rabbis can I show you that don't say this?
Right.
How many, let's talk about, so many things. All of the Rabbanim, all of the Rabbanim. It's just crazy.
I just want to finish what I was saying before with this word usher. So everyone's always throwing out the word usher. Not just in regards to the harabais, in regards to so many things. But I was talking about the harabais. But so when I asked my Rav, and I said everyone throws around this word usher. I said, does any rabbi nowadays have the right to make something usher? And he said, no, that was something that the Anshe Knesset Gedolah had the right to do. They're the ones that set up all the Rabbanans that we have. There's the Rabbanan, there's the Reis. So they were the Rabbanan. Nowadays, after especially the end of having these Sanhedrin
consolidated power like that
with proper smicha and all these requirements, then nowadays we have rabbis who can suggest against things. A rabbi can get up and say, look, if we tell people to go onto the harabais, then people who are not going to follow halacha properly are going to go onto the harabais, and that's going to be a problem. So we just say, we recommend people shouldn't do it. You want to say that? That's fantastic. That's being honest. You'll get less of a pushback. We can all be on the same page. I would sit with those people and we'll shake hands. We'll say we're all in complete agreement. I completely agree with that with that idea. But when people start using the word usher about everything, you're not allowed to do this. You must do that. I hear people. I had a rabbi I used to listen to a lot of his shiurim, and I stopped because he would talk about like things like the karbanos in Shachris, right? And like different tefillas that are like, it's hard to say everything. He would say it's usher to skip it. You must say it. It's the most important thing. I'm like, dude,
it's so funny.
It's very beautiful. You should say everything in the siddur, but like when you use these words, everything loses.
Oh, it loses. It's so interesting because on that note, I noticed where do we learn out Kedushin from? We learn from, it's a couple, it depends which thing, but the actual Kedushin, there's Kasav, there's Shtar, and there's Bia, but there's the actual Kedushin itself, the mitzvah is learned from Ki Yikach Ish Isha. Now, when a man will take a woman. So I always thought it was interesting, like, it's such a roundabout way of saying you have to Mekadesh Isha. And literally, almost the entire Torah, there is almost no halacha, that's almost no mitzvah that's said in like, you must do this. So go read the Quran for a minute, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's it. Everything's like, it's like stories, like almost like Ki Yikach Isha, and then if you want to be Garish her, you give her a get. It's very roundabout. It's not like, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. And I'm like, wow, like that's such an amazing thing. And you go back to the story of Yaakov and the famous story with Yaakov and Rachel and Leah. that he didn't tell them we have to leave. He said, no, your father's upset at us and we should just, it's time to get out of here. He didn't tell them Hashem said we must leave now. And everybody asked the question, but it's like so obvious. Like, why would you want to come head on against a person's nature? So the Torah says, no, I'm going to slow it. No, when you take it's very roundabout. It's not like you must do this, you want to do that. There's there are mitzvahs that it says very clearly. But the majority of the mitzvahs, especially the detailed halacha, it's very roundabout. We learn from very interesting places. We have pages and pages of stories of Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, very at length, nuanced stories to learn from them. When it comes to kiseitze, kisavayim, it's not very offensive. It's not very aggressive. It's a brilliance of the Torah, of Hashem giving mitzvahs in a way that are not. You don't have to jump back from them.
That's why Hashem didn't give us a rule book. He gave us more of a story.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Of course we have Torah Sheba'al Peh. Of course we have halachos that have this you're allowed to do, this you're not allowed to do. With the karbanos, the Torah makes it quite clear in a lot of situations. If an animal has this blemish, you are not allowed to bring it onto the mizbeach, right. Whatever it is. So of course there's areas where we have clear-cut halacha. But overall, the way the Torah is written, the way Hashem presented the Torah to us, is you have to be able to use your brain. You have to be able to assess situations. Right. You can never violate a biblical commandment, and you obviously can't violate even a rabbinical commandment if they set out when you can't violate it. But the majority of our lives is gray area. And it is so important for people to learn the Torah themselves. Stop asking your rabbi everything. Oh, you want to ask the halacha question, fine. But with the hashkafa part, and
it's good for business, though.
It's so important that people open up a Tanakh. People open up some Musar Sfarim, the Ramchal Sfarim, and just understand what how Hashem wants us to think. What?
Open up a Mishlei also.
Tanakh.
I did forget
that's what I'm saying. Tanakh. It's super important. Mishlei is super important.
No, but I want to. I wasn't. What I'm saying is, right. First of all, that's totally true. That there's just as much as the Torah could tell you. It's setting up principles that you have to judge a ton of gray area in your life. Every time you interact with your spouse, every time you interact with your kids, it's gray area. There's no black and white. How much chesed, how much tzedakah. I mean, there's a lot of gray area. There's halachas to everything, but more than that, I was saying that it's just even the black and white is not given over with a cold black and white.
Absolutely,
it's given over you have to find it. It's like, imagine you go to Turkish road, you have to Mikashi Isha, and here's what you have to do. Why did I do that? Because the Torah's not interested in doing that. You have to find the halacha. You have to find that. Could you do kesef? Could you do shar? You have to find it. You have to because it's just much more pleasant to we're human beings, and Hashem gave us a Torah, and it's given in a pleasant way that you could love it, not feel like.
Right,
it's restricting you.
Right, and again, it's not a rule book as much as it's a guide. It's a life guide.